My name's Rebecca. I'm 22 years old and I have cancer, ovarian cancer specifically. It's not a laughing matter, but laughing helps, and I hope that doesn't make you uncomfortable because I laugh a lot about my situation. Otherwise, I would go insane. So, yeah, ovarian cancer. I am recording this video to share my story, so I'll start by doing that. However, it's quite a long story. I will try to keep it as short as possible for this video, and I will probably make more in-depth videos about it in the future, but yeah, it's way too long for just this video, and I want this video to be an introduction. So, yeah, a little disclaimer. I know this video probably looks like shit, and it probably also sounds like shit, and I'm sorry about that, but I have no experience in video producing, editing. It's really not my field, not at all, and I just don't know how to make it better, honestly. Like, I'm recording this on my iPhone camera right now, and the only lighting I have is the lighting coming from my ceiling, which makes me look quite yellow. I'm aware this probably looks like shit. Just maybe listen to this as if it were a podcast and don't look at me because I really don't know what to do about it. And I've tried recording this so many times, and I'm just always such a perfectionist about it. I get like I'm just way too hard on myself. I just want to get this out there. I want to speak about this, and I never will if I keep focusing on little things like that. So please keep that in mind and bear with me. Thank you. So, my story. My story starts. My story with cancer starts when I was around 12 years old. So I got my period when I was around 12 years old. It was very painful. It was painful right from the start. Very painful, very heavy bleeding. Even before my period, to be fair, I would get these shooting pains in my abdomen. But it really started getting bad when I got my period and after I got my period. So my period sucked. And even beyond my period, as I said, I would get these pains, just episodes of acute pain, abdominal pain, which will make me go to the ER. I never went to the ER when I was on my period because I just figured, it's my period. Being a woman is hard. But when I'd get pain outside of my period, that would be annoying, and I would get it checked out, and they were just shooting pains. It wasn't just, a little tummy ache, just a lot of pain. So I started going to the ER about that, and you can imagine how well that went. There are many things that would be preferable than going to the ER as a young teen and being like, my tummy hurts. You'd be better off just, being like, I think I'm a unicorn, and they'll take you seriously. They'll start looking for your horn. That's better than just saying I have a tummy ache. But yeah, I did say I have a tummy ache because I had a tummy ache and they couldn't find the reason why I had the tummy ache. Which, don't get me wrong, like, this is a whole other subject, but I don't blame anyone for not thinking a 12-year-old had ovarian cancer. But anyway, I'll just share my story for now, leaving things like this aside. So, went to the ER a lot of times. They could never find anything wrong with me. So after a while, I just gave up. It's not that I just gave up. The thing is that the last time I went, they were like, yeah, it's probably your period, you're ovulating or whatever. And a few days later, I actually did end up getting my period. So I was like, well, shit, maybe they're actually right. Maybe this is just what PMS feels like, and I'm just being a wimp about it. I don't know. I have no frame of reference for these things. I just know about my pain, and if everyone says that my pain must be normal, then I'll just accept that as a fact. I shouldn't have, but oh well. So since I got my period right after that ER trip, I was just like, okay, yeah, whatever. So I just dealt with my very painful periods and my random pains up until 2020, I believe. It was around when COVID hit that my period pain just became a constant. It's not that I always had my period. It's just that I was always in pain as if I were on my period. And I can deal with people telling me, oh yeah, no, it's nothing, it's just your period, if it were to happen just on my period. But this was happening all the time now. I was just constantly in pain. So, my period was not a valid excuse anymore. So I started going to the doctor again. What I thought I had was endometriosis. Dr. Google came to the rescue because I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm in pain all the time. Why does my belly hurt so much all the time? So I started looking things up on Google, before before just starting to, schedule appointments and stuff like that. I wanted to have an idea of what to look for. Like, is this intestinal? Is this gynecological? I don't know. And something that seemed very likely at the time was endometriosis. I fit the symptoms to a T. It was just perfect. Sorry, English is not my first language, as you can probably tell. So yeah, sometimes I do struggle finding the right words. Sorry about that. It happens. I'm doing my best. So just, abdominal pain, pain during sex with bowel movements that were not of the greatest consistency. Just every single symptom I had seemed to be pointing at endometriosis. So I went to the gynecologist, not gynecologist, the gynecologist. And endometriosis is quite difficult to diagnose, in the sense that the only way to actually properly diagnose it is surgery. But you can see it on scans. However, you have to be trained to see it on scans. Your regular gynecologist probably won't be able to spot endometriosis on scans unless they cause cyst, but that's another thing. So yeah, I started the whole ordeal of trying to get diagnosed with endometriosis, and that was pain. That was a huge pain, because I was already on the pill ever since I was 17 years old. And the pill was great. It helped me a lot. But it stopped helping after a while, which is 2020. That's when just my pain came back, and it was just constant, regardless of my period. So, I started going to the doctor again. They started prescribing me other pills, just trying other things, but nothing was working. And so I wanted to get surgery, because, you can only throw so many pills at me before maybe we should be doing something else about this. Maybe this is severe enough to warrant surgery, because I can assure you that pain-wise, it's oh my god, it was miserable. I was in so much pain, just so much pain. I ended up finding a good center that agreed to get me surgery. That's not how you say that, probably, whatever. To operate on me. So yeah, I did get my first surgery, I believe. Let me think for a second. It was in 2022. The 26th of May 2022 is when I got my first surgery for endometriosis. It was quite a long wait time. And just in general, the whole process of being diagnosed was such a pain, because no one believed me. No one believed the severity of my symptoms. And as I said earlier, I'm not saying the first thing you should think when you have a 22-year-old in front of you is, oh yeah, she has ovarian cancer. But at least just don't treat me like I'm an idiot. I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. Google is not a doctor. But I'm also not an idiot. And I'm in a lot of pain. So you could be at least a bit more empathetic about it. But yeah, sorry, that was a tangent. As I was saying, I got my first surgery. And surgery went well. It was around a 2-3 hour long surgery. They did find what at the time was thought to be endometriosis, between stage 3 and 4. The thing that was strange, according to them, is that it was just my ovaries were clear. The gynecological part, so to speak, was clear, but just my intestines and everything else was just ravaged. Spoiler, my ovaries were not clear. They were not. they really were not. Um, but yeah, got my first surgery, everything went well. I honestly felt an instant improvement. Like, I did not ask for any payments after my first surgery. Not because I'm this badass. No, it's just because it was so much better. Like, the pain was so much better compared to what I was feeling before surgery. So I got my first surgery, everything goes well. I recover, just, in a matter of 2 weeks, I was out and about. It was great. It felt like I had my life back. I believe it was 3 weeks after surgery, maybe on the 21st of June, but I'm not too sure about that date. But I got a phone call from the hospital. And, it's when you get a phone call from your hospital when you're not expecting it, you worry. Like, why are you calling me? What do you want? We're done. we don't have any business. I'm supposed to be seeing you in a year for a checkup. What do you want from me? But yeah, well, I answered the phone, and it was my surgeon, and she started the phone call with, "Well, Rebecca, you should be glad that we did surgery on you, because if we didn't, it would have been bad." I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, because I would have kept being in pain, but what's up? Well, she was like, "Well, don't worry, we already spoke to oncology." Excuse me? You spoke to whom? I think you're a wrong person. I have endometriosis. Turns out I didn't. My histology report came back, and it was not endometriosis. It was actually, according to them, it was a borderline tumor. Spoiler, that diagnosis was wrong. It was not a borderline tumor. But oh well, it was a borderline tumor, not endometriosis. They had to get me in for another surgery to just do some staging, make sure they got everything out. Alright, I got in for my second surgery. Everything goes smoothly. The pathology is not completely clear in the sense that there were some bits and pieces that still had a bit of tumor, I guess. But they didn't really do anything about that. The thing is that I was just supposed to be monitored. So, alright, whatever. I'm scheduled for checkups every 6 months to make sure that nothing is growing, because there was no macroscopic, I think that's the term, macroscopic disease left. Like, with the naked eye, there was nothing left. We had to check for microscopic growth and becoming macroscopic growth. Well, I have no idea if I said that correctly. But yeah, like, surgery found nothing to the naked eye, but we had to keep checking just in case anything microscopic decided to start growing, So, because the thing is, sorry, I forgot to mention this, but the thing is that with borderline tumors, chemo doesn't really work. You don't really do chemo for borderline tumors. So even if they did find something microscopically, which they did, I mean, like, as the pathologist said, they did find a bit of microscopic residue here and there, but there's nothing you can do about that because it's microscopic and chemo doesn't work for borderline tumors. So yeah, I just had to keep getting checkups every 6 months. So, I thought I was done. Like, yeah, I'll just get checkups every 6 months. I'll have anxiety about them, but who cares? I'll just keep on living my life. I was not done. I get my first checkup, my first 6-month checkup, and the ultrasound goes relatively well. There was a spot that they saw that they had to investigate upon, but was nothing too bad. But the doctor goes like she asks me routine questions like, "Are you taking the pill?" And I tell her, "Yeah, you guys told me I could take any pill." So at some point I just started taking the pill again because my periods were bothering me a bit, and I was also using it as birth control. So just figured I'd start taking it again. And she looks at me like this and goes like, "What pill are you taking?" I was like, Yasmin, birth control pill, just a regular birth control pill. Yasmin is the name of the birth control pill I was taking at the time. She was like, "I'm not sure you're supposed to be taking that." I was like, well, ma'am, if you're not sure, then how can I be sure? Like, you guys told me last time I was here that I could just take any birth control pill, and they were like very nonchalant about it. But yeah, the doctor just told me I could take any birth control pill, so that's what I did. And she was like, yeah, no, you're not supposed to do that. I'm not sure if you should be taking birth control with your borderline tumor. I was like, well, okay, then what am I supposed to do about that? And she referred me to a very big cancer center in my country, and just for a pill, just to get a pill prescribed. Because let me explain a bit better. I have to record another video talking about this, but I think if I don't say this, the context will not be clear to you. So the thing that was very strange about my case was that I had like the growths they removed were borderline tumors, but borderline tumors are usually ovarian borderline tumors. But the thing is that, according to them, my ovaries were clear. There was nothing on my ovaries, according to them. So that's what made my case so strange, because what they were hypothesizing was that the primary site from which the tumor came from was the peritoneum, which the peritoneum is basically the lining of your organs in your abdomen, as far as I understand it. And it's a bit complicated. I'm sorry about that. I can't do anything about that. It's what happened to me. I'm trying to tell it to you as best as I can. So, sorry, I was saying borderline tumors. Yeah, the thing that was strange was that my ovaries were clear. So they hypothesized a primary peritoneal borderline tumor, which is a very, very rare thing. And so she just didn't feel comfortable prescribing me anything specific because it's rare, and she doesn't know what I can take, what I can't take. Apparently, they don't know. I don't know why the doctor before her was just so confident, being like, yeah, you can take whatever. But yeah, she didn't know. She didn't feel sure prescribing me anything. So she sent me to this huge ass cancer center. And I was supposed to just go there to get a pill prescribed, but I was like, yeah, no, I had a few problems with the center I was at that did my surgeries already, but this was like just the last thing I needed to just be like, yeah, I'm sorry guys, thank you for the surgeries, but I need someone that knows this better than you do, because that hospital was very well known for endometriosis, but they're not well known for rare cancers. So I just needed someone that sorry, at this period in time it was a tumor. I mean, a borderline tumor is between malignant and benignant. So I don't know if you can define it as cancer, but yeah, well, tumor. I need someone who knows stuff about rare tumors. You guys are just not cutting it. Like, you can't just tell me, oh yeah, take whatever pill, don't worry. And then 6 months later, I find out you actually don't know if I can take this pill or not. That was just not acceptable to me. And many other things, not many, but there were a few other things that were just not great. So yeah, I just thought that, I'd go to this appointment to get a pill prescribed. It was specifically a oncofertility appointment. I have no idea if that's a word. That's a very rough translation from my language. It was basically a doctor that specializes in both fertility and oncology. And I was supposed to see him to get this pill prescribed. But my thinking was, I will tell him my entire life story, and I will just beg him to, please take care of me in this center, please. I'm tired of doctors not knowing anything. Please help me. And that's more or less what I did. A bit less begging, but yeah, I just went to this appointment, and oh my god, just, the difference was night and day. Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling a lot. This is turning out to be very long. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. But basically, I go to this doctor, the new doctor at the very big cancer center, and he just takes me under his wing. He's like, no, yeah, we'll get you an ultrasound, we'll see whatever is up with you. This is a very strange case, very strange presentation. There are a few things we have to check. And they did check a few things. So the first thing I get done there is an ultrasound, and guess what? They do find something on my ovaries. Specifically on my right ovary. It's a very small cyst, very, very small. It's actually a 1 centimeter long cyst. I don't know how much that is in inches, but it's very, very small. this little nugget on my right ovary. My left ovary is clear, but my right ovary has this little nugget that apparently was consistent with borderline tumors. So, you know, they also asked to see my pathology samples again. I don't know if you call them pathology samples, tissue samples. I think it's tissue samples. They asked my last hospital to send over the histology, sorry, the tissue samples. They asked to send over the tissue samples from my last surgeries to analyze them again. And guess what? They found that it did not come back as a borderline tumor, but it was a low-grade tumor, low-grade cancer. That's why I have low-grade serous ovarian cancer. Now it has been confirmed after the last surgery I had, but I'll get to that. So they review my tissue samples, and it turns out it's low-grade serous ovarian cancer. I mean, they can't confirm the ovarian part yet because, you know, my ovaries are still inside me at this point, and there's this cyst on ultrasound that looks consistent as low-grade serous ovarian cancer, but they had to confirm it through surgery. But what they decided to do was just to keep monitoring me, and if my cyst grew and if my symptoms got worse, then it was time to get surgery done for me again. So, you know, I figured this out. I find this out and I'm just, what? And my checkup after 4 months, so where we left out was that every 4 months I'd get a scan to check on the growth and see how it was doing, if it was stable, if it was not. And at the very first scan, at the very first checkup, sorry, it turned out not to be stable. It's not that the ovarian growth wasn't stable, actually, it's just that they saw so many other growths on my intestines and just everywhere. So they were like, yeah, it's time to get you under the knife again. So they did. On the 16th of November of last year, 2023, I got my third surgery. This time it was a laparotomy. I have a scar, a very cool scar in my opinion, that goes from, I have no idea how you call that in English actually. My sternum, maybe? It goes from my sternum down to my pubic area. Let's leave it at that. It's a very, very large scar. Not large, sorry, long. Yeah, that was not relevant at all. I'm sorry, I told you I ramble a lot. I hope this is at least enjoyable to listen to, but this will be a very long video. So yeah, I got my third surgery done. This surgery was actually very long. It was a 6-hour long surgery, and I was riddled with disease. They were not expecting, like, they were expecting extensive disease, but not as extensive. I ended up having to spend the night in the ICU, not because anything went wrong, like the surgery went fine, it was amazing, no complications, just a lot of cancer, but no complications. They just kept me in there to monitor me, just to make sure that, you know, since I had been under anesthesia for so long, they just wanted to make sure that everything was fine. So yeah, I got this third surgery. Pathology for this third surgery comes indeed back as low-grade serous ovarian cancer, and it's stage 3C, which is quite advanced. I enjoy being good at things, but I do not enjoy being this good at having cancer. I mean, I could always be better. I could have stage 4 cancer, but I'm more than fine with stage 3C, personally. 3C is a type of staging. I'm sorry, maybe sometimes I just speak like these things are given, but I figured that if you're watching this video, you probably, unfortunately, have experience in this field. But yeah, 3C is a type. You could have 3A, 3B, 3C. The letters just mean something in regards to how far it has spread. But yeah, stage 3 ovarian cancer. And yeah, that's more or less where we're at right now. As I said, I had surgery in November. I've recovered fine. And the course of treatment for low-grade serous ovarian cancer is debulking surgery, which is just surgery to try and remove as much of the cancer as possible, which in my case, thankfully, all disease got removed. Like, there was no residual disease according to them, which it was great news to hear. And after surgery, you have to get chemotherapy. In my case, it's 6 cycles of chemotherapy, and the chemo I'm getting is, I think in English it's called carbotaxel. It's carboplatin and paclitaxel, or taxol. Maybe paclitaxel is in Italian. Italian being my home language. I'm sorry, it's late, and this is not how you say things. I'm aware this is not how one speaks. It's late, and I have my second chemo tomorrow, but I just wanted to record this, and to record this with hair, preferably, because I'm probably going to start losing my hair soon, and so I just want to get this out there while I had hair, you know, just at least one video in which I look a little bit like myself. But yeah, as I said, I had surgery, that went fine. Now I'm onto chemo, and I had my first chemo on the 14th of December. I unfortunately couldn't get Taxol that time around. They tried, but I had an allergic reaction, a very serious allergic reaction. I mean, I was fine after 5 minutes, but like I went into anaphylactic shock for 5 minutes, so that was not great. That was not great, but hey, I kept my hair for 4 more weeks, so that's a win in my book. They told me that it was actually no big deal that I couldn't get the Taxol during that round, because what does most of the work is carboplatin anyway, so I didn't get Taxol for that round. And Taxol is actually the drug that causes hair loss, which is why I still have my hair. But tomorrow I'm getting my second round, and I will be losing my hair because they will be putting me on a lot of drugs, basically just a lot of cortisone, in order to, is cortisone the word? Corticosteroids? Steroids? I don't know, Benadryl? I know Benadryl is an English word for that. Well, just a lot of stuff to prevent going into anaphylactic shock again, hopefully. And so I'll be getting that done in order to hopefully tolerate Taxol. And they said that most of the time it works in order to allow people to get chemo. So that's what I'll be getting, and I will be hopefully getting Taxol, which means I'll be losing my hair soon. And I wanted to, as I said, get this out there while I still have my hair. So yeah. And yeah, this is pretty much the story so far, honestly. I know I probably rambled a lot, and I'm sorry about my English. It's not my first language. I haven't spoken it with anyone in a while, so I'm a bit rusty on it. But I really wanted to talk and get this out there, because it just, when I first got diagnosed, and by diagnosed I mean when they first told me it was malignant. I mean, don't get me wrong, even back then when I first found out it was a tumor, it was a borderline tumor, it was bad, but the malignancy was a much worse diagnosis to hear, because it was just the thing I had been fearing for a year at that point, and it had happened. Like it was malignant, and you know, it was very difficult. After they told me it was cancer, I spent 2 weeks crying. I would cry every 30 minutes. I just felt so alone. I thought my life was over. I thought, well, not why is this happening to me, because that's not something I ever thought, because I personally believe that. Just why not me? What makes me so special that it couldn't happen to me? These things happen to people, and I'm one of the unfortunate ones to which they happen to. So it is what it is. But it was just more of a matter of, why is this so hard? Like I've been in pain for almost half of my life, and just I thought I was done. I thought I was done after my first surgery. I thought I was done after my second surgery, And it turns out I'm not done at all. It turns out it's cancer, and I have to get another surgery, and I have to get chemo. And this cancer is also not too great. How do you say it? Like statistics wise, prognosis wise. Like the prognosis is great survival wise, in the sense that the life expectancy is not too bad at all. Like when we're talking about cancer, life expectancy is not great generally, unfortunately. Of course, it depends on staging, on what type of cancer, but generally, unfortunately, it's not great for the lifespan. But in my cancer, personally, not personally, but like in my cancer, I think the stats for prognosis and life expectancy are quite great, as great as they can get at least. But when it comes to recurrence, the stats are not great at all. It's like between a 70 and 80% chance of recurrence, if I recall correctly. And just, everything I read online was just terrifying. Like, yeah, it's better than high grade ovarian cancer, but it's still cancer. And it's still not great, maybe these stats, like maybe 10 to 15 years prognosis sounds great when you're 60, but when you're 22, that does not sound great. And I know statistics apply to a group of people, and they don't necessarily say anything about me personally. But I even found a study which talked about how being younger was actually a bad prognostic factor for this cancer. But by that I mean that apparently young people that get this cancer do not fare as well as old people, which, you'd think at least I got that going for me. That at least young people have, I'm strong, my body is strong, whatever. But yeah, no, apparently for my cancer, it's not good to be young. And yes, I have no idea what I was saying for this, but yeah, just, I felt so alone. And something that helped me a lot were videos of other people going through this. I unfortunately never found too much about, like, too many people going through the same as, like, the exact same cancer as me. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Like, one of the people that had the most impact on me personally was this guy, Daniel Thomas. That's his name, Pee Wee Toms on YouTube. And he had a completely different cancer compared to me. And unfortunately, he passed away from his cancer. So, it wasn't even one of those feel-good stories about surviving and being 20 years cancer-free. No, unfortunately, he died. And his cancer was very bad and was very aggressive. And yet he had the most impact on me due to his outlook and the way he saw things. He was just an incredible guy. And it made me realize that it doesn't matter how my story ends. It doesn't matter if this cancer ends up taking my life. None of that matters, because cancer can take many things away from me. It took my right ovary, took some of my intestines. It took a lot of me. It took a lot of time, in the sense that I spent a lot of time being in pain. But what it can't take away from me, or rather what I won't let it take away from me, is my spirit. I believe that beating cancer is not about necessarily surviving the disease. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great if you survive, if you end up, going through treatment and you spend the rest of your life cancer free. That's just fantastic. But I don't think beating cancer is just about that. I think beating cancer is about making the most of whatever time you have, regardless of if it's 6 months, if it's 6 years, if it's 60 years. That doesn't matter, because if I spend 60 years of my life cancer free, but the trauma that I bring from the experience doesn't allow me to lead a great life, and just doesn't allow me to be happy, then I don't believe I beat cancer. Like, yeah, sure, maybe I'm cancer free, but cancer beat me, it beat my spirit. While on the other hand, I've seen people like Pee Wee Thomas. like his name is Daniel Thomas, but the YouTube channel I believe is Pee Wee Thomas. People like him who unfortunately, like, their life was tragically cut way too short, but their spirit was there. Like, they fought like hell. They kept going. And fought in the sense, not in the sense that, as I said, they beat cancer, but in the sense that they lived their life. They had a lot of joy, a lot of bad times. There will be bad times in a journey like this, but they still had good times. Like, he got married, he had many happy moments with his family, and I believe that's the most important thing. And I hope this is something that I can share to YouTube and bring to the world. Just, I hope I can document a happy life, regardless of how my journey with cancer goes. Maybe this will kill me in a year. Maybe it will kill me in 10 years. Maybe it will never kill me, but it doesn't matter. As long as I keep enjoying life, as long as it doesn't strip me of my joy and my spirit and my will to live. It has at certain points. As I said, after they told me it was cancer, I spent 2 weeks crying in bed. But bad times are natural. But if you ask me and the people who know me, I believe they would tell you that more often than not, I'm a very happy person. And that's not just a facade I put on. I have my sad times. I do. But most of the time, I'm happy. I'm managing my situation, and I'm being realistic while also not letting reality get to me too much, I believe, which honestly, I believe that's all I can ask for. Because as I said, recurrent stats are not great. Honestly, my cancer seems to be more of a chronic illness than just, a one and done type of deal. So it's not good for me to think in terms of, oh, I have to beat this. Oh, I can't wait to be done with chemo so I never have to do this again, which, I mean, I hope for that. I hope that once I'm done with chemo, I will never have to do this again. But maybe that's not my reality. Maybe I'm done with chemo, and in 6 months, I'll have other growths somewhere else. So I can't think in terms of, oh, I'll beat this now and I'll never have this again. No, this is a journey that I want to share and document, because I don't want this to bring me down, and I don't want this to bring anyone else down. And I think that maybe my perspective could, maybe, I don't want to be too full of myself, but I've spoken to people who have cancer, who are going through active treatment, and I've been told that I help them, that I'm, a happy presence, and I'm happy to be that. Well, obviously acknowledging that you can't always be happy. There will be downtimes. I do have downtimes, but I think there can also be many happy times, which I don't think you see a lot of that with cancer, which, don't get me wrong, that's fair. That's fair, because this sucks. This obviously sucks. But I do want to share the fact that there can be good times, even if it sucks. Even if it's cancer, even if it's a late stage cancer, even if your prognosis is not great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not terminal by any means. But I do have advanced cancer, so I believe that even though I'm not terminal, I'm not, on my deathbed, I believe that the fact that I'm able to apply this having advanced cancer means that I can probably, like, this is probably true for terminal people as well, and for people who are much worse off than me. And by this I mean that there can be joy found even in these drastic and awful situations. And that's what I hope to bring. I hope to bring some joy, some hope, some reality as well, because I do want to share the realities of this disease and the effects it has. But I never want to let it kill my spirit. That's not something I ever want to do, and I believe that the day in which cancer kills my spirit will be the day that cancer has truly won. And I hope I never get to that day. And even if it kills me, I will go out with a smile, knowing that I lived my life to the best of my abilities, even though I was dealt quite shitty cards. Like, let's just say they were quite shitty, but I still want to make the most of it. So yeah, this was kind of an introduction. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I hope I didn't talk your ears off too much. I hope this was comprehensible. I'm very sorry if it wasn't. It's just, you know, my clinical history is very long. I have a lot of things to say, and I speak a lot. I talk a lot. I'm always yapping, always chit-chatting, and I think you can tell that. But yeah, I hope you'll stay with me on this journey. If you're going through similar things, or if you have someone you love who's going through similar things, I hope I can give you some insight on what they're going through. I hope you feel less alone if you are the one going through this. And I hope to be a source of joy. Just, you know, yeah, I will be showing the bad times, but there's a lot of life that can be lived, even in situations like this, even between a cancer diagnosis, you know, between diagnosis and between death. Hopefully, not for everyone, unfortunately. I'm aware of that, and I don't mean to make it sound as if cancer was just this easy thing, this breeze, this. No. Unfortunately, sometimes it's, you know, a very fast descent from diagnosis to death. But for example, in my case and in many other cases, if, you know, if we're lucky, so to speak, but in many cases, cancer is more of a chronic illness than it is just straight up a death sentence. And it's a chronic illness that is very hard to manage. And I hope to show that you can live a lot of life with this chronic illness. And until your last breath, if you still have good times, if you still smile, you still laugh, you still enjoy time with your family, with your friends, then cancer hasn't killed you. It will never kill you. Yeah, sure, it will kill your body, but your spirit will always be there. And yeah, that's it. I will be seeing you in another video which I believe will probably be a chemo vlog tomorrow. I'm having my chemo tomorrow. Today is the 15th of December, and I will be having my chemo tomorrow. So yeah, very much not looking forward to that, but you'll probably see a video about that. So yeah, I hope you're having a lovely day, night, evening, wherever you're at, and sending you lots of kisses and lots of love. Bye.